always from the heart of the city, and now on demand 24/7 on the CHFI website. This is the soundtrack to something of great value. And I'm Don Jackson, around the world on the internet. Love is not a result. It is a cause. People talk about love as though it were something you could give, like an armful of flowers. Love is a force in you that enables you to give other things. It is a power like money or steam or electricity. It is valueless unless you can give something else by means of it. Unquote. The words of Anne Morrow Lindbergh. This hour, what has great value to lovers and other strangers, from iTunes and chfi.com. Celine Dion, Because You Loved Me, and Bryan Adams, Everything I Do It for You. And I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and chfi.com. We expend a great deal of effort looking for the best deals. We will shop for hours trying to get the most value for our money, rather than buying the first thing that catches our eye. In that case, we are wise shoppers. But not always. A French writer said, mankind esteem that which they have most desired as of no value the moment it is possessed, and torment themselves with fruitless wishes for that which is beyond their reach. Samuel Roll, a professor of psychology and psychiatry at the University of New Mexico, said in an Associated Press article that ran just before Christmas in newspapers, December 18th, 1995, and I quote, "Scrooge was a person who knew the price of everything and the value of nothing." Unquote. I thought we might spend a little time trying to determine what is of real value to lovers and other strangers from iTunes and chfi.com. Amanda Marshall with Dark Horse and Whitney Houston, and Didn't We Almost Have It All? I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and chfi.com. This is an excerpt from the 1989 edition of the Friendship Book of Francis Gay. And I quote, "We all enjoy receiving presents, and usually it is the thought that has gone into them that is appreciated as much as the value. There is something we may give to others which gives pleasure, but costs nothing. It takes only a moment to hand over, but sometimes the memory lasts forever. It enriches the person who receives it without making poorer the one who gives it. It creates happiness in the home and goodwill in everyday encounters. It brings sunshine to the sad and cheer to those who are discouraged. Some people are too tired to give one, so give them one of yours. For nobody needs one as much as the person who has no more to give." What is this amazing gift? Why, a smile. Unquote. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and chfi.com. Hall & Oates and Sarah Smile, Al Stewart's Time Passages, and James Blunt and You're Beautiful. And I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and chfi.com. In the 1979 edition of the Friendship Book of Francis Gay, published by D.C. Thompson and Company, he wrote, and I quote, the Titanic struck an iceberg on her maiden voyage in 1912, scores of passengers rushed for the boats in an effort to get to safety. One woman had already entered a boat when she suddenly asked to be allowed to go back to revisit her cabin. Everyone thought she had gone to retrieve as much as she could of her jewelry, for she was obviously a wealthy woman. You can imagine their surprise when she returned clutching a paper bag containing oranges. At that critical hour, they were of far greater value than all the pearls of the East. Unquote. Francis Gay, in the 1979 edition of his Friendship book. There are many things in this world that are deemed far greater in value than money, especially when one realizes the end may be near. Lovers and Other Strangers, from iTunes and CHFI.com. Faith Hill and There You'll Be, and Celine Dion and My Heart Will Go On. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. It is love in old age, no longer blind, that is true love. For love's highest intensity doesn't necessarily mean its highest quality. Glamour and jealousy are gone, and the ardent caress no longer needed is valueless compared to the reassuring touch of a trembling hand. Passers-by commonly see little beauty in the embrace of young lovers on a park bench. But the understanding smile of an old wife to her husband is one of the loveliest things in the world. Unquote. The words of Booth Tarkington. And as he points out in his description of true love, it is something of great value. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Share with Peter Cetera, After All, and Edwin McCain, and I'll Be. And I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. An unknown writer in the 1990 Canadian Farm and Home Almanac was quoted as saying, "Love is the greatest of all soul forces. It is the abiding passion. It is the silver link that binds human hearts together, and the mystic power that makes the world go round. Life knows no pleasure sweeter than love, no treasure richer than contentment, no value higher than health, no mission nobler than service, no fruition happier than an approving conscience." Love shortens time, charms the hours. Love is invincible. Many waters cannot quench it, nor the floods drown. The supreme happiness of life is the conviction that we are loved. To serve is to love. To love is to give. When you love, you give. And when you give, you serve. And when you serve, you are happy. Unquote. An unknown writer in the 1990 Canadian Farm and Home Almanac. To recognize the importance of someone in your life and what it would mean to you to lose him or her is to realize the value of love. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and chfi.com. I hope you will tell all your friends about Lovers and Other Strangers. Good night, sweet dreams. I'm Don Jackson.